Hi, everybody. Welcome to Blog, Post, and Publish, Content Marketing for Recruiters. I am Emily Brewer. I am a Senior Manager of Global Marketing for SapientNitro. And while I'm a full-time marketer, I focus mostly on employer branding efforts for my company, so I'm very deeply entrenched with our talent acquisition function, and I work with recruiters on talent issues every day.
Hear from me a little bit later on, and I work for Intel Corporation. I'm a social media strategist in our enterprise talent organization.
So here's my contact information. Both Sejal and I have a lot of examples of content and best practices and thoughts on what you guys can be doing as recruiters to focus on content marketing for your talent brand. So I don't want to spend a lot of time explaining and digging down into things, but if you guys have any questions about any of the things that I've talked about, feel free to tweet at me, to send me an email, or to get in touch with me, and I'm happy to expand on anything that is of interest or you guys have questions about after the session. So before I get started, since we're both full-time marketers, how many people in the room are full-time talent acquisition professionals that are tasked with managing talent brand for your company? Okay, almost all of you, which I kind of expected. And are there any full-time marketers in the room that are working on talent brand? Okay, great. I like to see more and more. Each year there's more and more of us, which I really like to see. It's very exciting. I think as marketers and as recruiters, we're all kind of thinking about and facing a lot of the same issues, talent hurdles. So, increasingly competitive landscape as we recruit, rapid changes in technology, not only that affects the skills of the types of people that we're looking to hire, but also affects how we get at our candidates. 10 years ago, social media wasn't even a factor, and now it's critical to the success of how we recruit for people. And then basically just all of our kind of shared need to want to have a compelling talent brand, to stand out, to have an easier time for your recruiting team when they call a candidate, that candidate is familiar with your brand, they're familiar with your company, they want to take that call, and they want to work there. So that said, we're not here to talk about talent acquisition. We're here to talk about content marketing and how that can help you with talent acquisition. And so Sejal and I are going to talk to you a little bit about how good content marketing can really help enhance your talent brand, and a strong talent brand can really have a strong effect on your ability to deliver against your talent pipeline needs. So first rule of content, it's got to be good. And good content really is about engaging and exciting your audience. So first and foremost, it's not really about what you want to say or what you think your brand is or what you care about. It's about your end user, your audience, what they're interested in, what they want to hear, what they're going to engage with you on. And I think in the Pepsi keynote yesterday, Chris had mentioned a statistic about every 12 minutes, somebody gets some sort of interruption from their social stream. So if you're the one interrupting in that 12-minute block, what is it about your content that's going to make people stop and kind of pay attention and engage with your content? So first and foremost, it's about connecting people to perspectives and points of view that actually contribute something to them or something that they care about, something that makes your brand relatable. And speaking about your brand, you really have to understand that your brand isn't just what you say it is. It really is also about what people's experience of your brand is. So what I mean when I say that is, if you say you're the best package delivery company in the world and no one holds a candle to you, but your customers say that you lose things, you break things, you're not trustworthy, then you're not the best package delivery company in the world. So you can definitely say things about yourself, but you also have to be mindful that the experience that people are having with your brand lines up to what it is you're saying about your company. So content marketing, what is content marketing? Content marketing is, your overall brand voice that you have. It is, something that's going to articulate the ethos of your organization and ultimately engage folks with your talent brand. And then if you're doing it really well, it's really going to call your audience to some sort of an action for yourself. And if you're really nailing your content marketing, it's actually going to transform people that are consuming your content into whatever you want them to be: candidates, business leads, customers. So basically, content marketing is going to ultimately, at the end of the day, help you achieve goals and have a business impact to the bottom line. So when you're thinking about your content marketing, some of you may have a content marketing function in place, some of you may be starting from scratch. Where I start when I think about content marketing and talent brand and how that differs from corporate brand, we all have corporate brands, right? Talent brand is different because when someone's considering why they would work for your company, they may care about different things than your products and your services. They may care about if you're people-focused, if you are values-based, if you are creative, if you have, a fun office environment. So you really have to think about what the differentiators are for your talent brand. And when you're curating your content, you want to make sure that the voice, stays within whatever you've decided that your organization represents. And how do you do that? First and foremost, be authentic, right? If you're putting content out there, you want to make sure that it's not stiff, it's not artificial, you're not trying to push a message that doesn't seem natural or that people aren't going to be able to connect with. And then we all have day jobs, right? We all have other parts of our jobs. A lot of people in the room here are recruiters, you're responding to candidates, you're dealing with hiring managers, you're coordinating interviews. So odds are there's a lot of people in your organization that want to help you do this, that want a platform to talk about why they're excited about working at the company or what they think about the industry or advice that they might have for other people. So reach out to people in your organization and actually become a curator instead of just a content producer because we can't do it by ourselves. And when you do that, you bring diversity of perspective, right? So myself as a marketer, I don't have enough expertise or point of view on things that are going to connect and be all things to all people. So when you open it up to other people, you're able to broaden the appeal and the reach of your content, which is really important. And then the all-important quality versus quantity. You can do the hamster wheel and push out content all day long, but if it's not quality and not stuff that people are engaging with, it's not really serving your purpose. And then focus your efforts. Again, you have talent acquisition goals. You're trying to get, measurable results in increase your talent pipeline, whatever it is. Focus your efforts so it actually impacts what your goals are and helps you in the other aspects of your job and is actually serving a purpose. So what would a good approach be if you haven't thought about content marketing or you're doing content marketing, but you're kind of just, doing it when you have a minute? First, get a strategy in place. And all a strategy means is thinking about what your goals are, what you're willing, what you want to achieve, what impact you want it to have, and then you build a plan around that, right? So I have X amount of goals, and now I'm going to build a plan that has tasks related that are going to help me achieve what I say my goals are. And then give your audience the things that they want, talk about things that are going to engage them, that they're going to be interested in. Become a curator. You can't do it all on your own, so reach out to people that are able to help you tell that message. And then really focus on things that are more talent brand related instead of corporate brand related that candidates are going to respond to. People and culture, you can do that through blogging, you can do it through social channels. And then don't forget your current employees, because employee ambassadors can be an incredibly powerful tool to help you spread and amplify your message, especially if they're engaged and morale is high. So a little about us. So I manage talent brand for my company, and we have a story, we have a history, right? So for us, we're 23 years old. We literally started as a startup company, 2 guys in their parents' basement with maxed out credit cards and an appetite to change the world, right? And the founding vision of the company, like on their charter, was to kick ass and be known for it. And that's not about what kind of work they were doing, what sectors they were working in, what clients they were working with. This was like a shared value, right? Like a certain kind of drive that they had. And that applied to everything that they did and followed us basically throughout our growth. And who we are today, we're a global company, 38 cities, 5 continents, more than 11,000 employees and $1 billion+ in revenue, doing work for clients like Unilever, like Target, like Coca-Cola. And all of those things are incredibly important to our corporate brand, and they may be important to people that are considering working for us as a company, but it's more than that, right? It's about them. The most powerful stories are those stories where people can see themselves in it, which is why talent brand is so powerful, because it's all about the people and them seeing themselves in your story. So our talent brand, we lead with our people and our culture, because we're an advertising agency, we're a client services company, so it's not about really our products, it's about our people and what they deliver for our clients. So we let them stand front and center and we highlight them. We show people who we are versus a lot of copy or a lot of things that are making a statement about our company. And a lot of people talked about Facebook, Twitter. We're obviously here to talk about LinkedIn. I want to talk about some other channels that you can use your employees as ambassadors to really highlight what your brand is, like blogging, like video testimonials, getting them out there speaking to people on your brand's behalf. And then talking about what kind of results that those can generate, build your talent brand, right? If your people are out there talking about it, you're building your talent brand. You're impacting your talent pipeline. Sorry, I'm very nervous. You're engaging your current employees. And then what's important about engaging your employees, right? So you're increasing your morale, you're decreasing your attrition, and why is that important? So if you're a talent acquisition professional and your boss comes to you and says, I need you to hire 5% of our workforce to help us scale and grow, and then 5% of your employees quit, your job just doubled. So if you're focusing your content marketing efforts only externally and you're neglecting your internal employee audience, then you're not doing all you can do to help you have an easier job. So in talking about blogging, it's not something that everybody thinks about when you're talking about talent brand. So you can highlight things that are specifically related to company culture, diversity. So in this particular thing, we're talking about tenure, right? We're a 23-year-old company, and one of our senior leaders celebrated a 20th anniversary, which is significant anywhere, but especially in technology and startup culture, it's something that we want to highlight. You can highlight gender diversity. We have a very accomplished female director of technology, which in the engineering field is it's very hard to find. It's kind of like the purple unicorn that recruiters talk about all the time. So you can highlight gender diversity. You can spotlight your veterans, talk about their experiences in the military, what kind of things that they needed to think about as they were transitioning into the private sector. You can talk about corporate social responsibility. Our DC office was able to do some things for Sandy victims in our Jersey and New York community. So you're able to talk about the values that your organization has. You're able to talk about your internship program by basically just highlighting your interns. You don't have to talk about your program, but you can let the interns talk for you. And then actually giving something back to the community. So we have a campus program, but rather than talk about our campus program, let's give students advice. I don't know how many people in here have a campus program, but a lot of times those candidates don't know how to interact with recruiters, right? They're following up too much, or they're not asking the right questions, or they're not presenting themselves, the way that more seasoned candidates do in interviews. So offer something back to the community. And then video content. So we're an advertising agency. We have a sales reel that talks about our clients and the type of work we do. About a year ago, we made this video to highlight the company and to highlight our people, where we don't really talk about our clients and our work at all. We just let them talk about what it is about the company that they like and why they're here. So I'm going to play that now.
For me, it was a no-brainer. It's big clients, big brands, working with people with a variety of skill sets in a variety of ways, and there's just so much potential to learn that I had to come.
Hey, let's use microphone real quick.
Told me to answer that again.
The main criteria for me joining SapientNitro was fundamentally about people.
I found really great people and the opportunity to be surrounded by other great experienced designers so that I could grow my career.
They really appreciate the fact that people bring a lot more to the table than just what's on their resume.
I have worked in both the traditional agency world and the pure play digital world, and I like the idea of how Sapient wants to merge those together.
For me, it was wanting to work at last for a company that actually builds what it designs.
When I came in and I interviewed with all the different people, I thought this is really a place I could see myself working.
I consider myself a lifer for Sapient. Hands down, it's the best company I've ever worked at.
And I read about the 6 core values.
I feel like they've been tattooed on my arm ever since I got here.
Leadership, to me, is definitely the most important.
Creativity.
People growth. Openness.
Client-focused delivery.
Relationships.
That's a tough question.
Whatever domain that you're in, you have to be a leader.
You really need to be open with one another in order to get the job done.
We really are a new breed of agency.
I was pretty hooked from that point on.
I lead the global research and insights practice for SapientNitro.
My role is content strategy.
Senior manager of program management.
Creative director.
Creative recruiter.
Junior associate program manager.
Senior art director.
Manager technology.
Senior manager hiring.
Being an account manager at SapientNitro encompasses a wide range of job responsibilities.
My day-to-day role is different every single day.
I come in the morning, get my tea, sit down, go through emails.
A daily status call with my team.
God, why are these questions so hard? I'm a complex thinker.
Move around some pixels and then export it as a JPEG or PDF.
How long do other people think about this question?
My favorite things about my job?
Having very strong team members that perform at a very high level.
That is such a great question.
I love being part of a culture of game-changing people who you can laugh with and are fun and don't take things too seriously.
Just that sense of discovery and wonder, I think that's been a great part of it.
It involves beverages in a rolling cooler.
I've been able to accomplish a lot at SapientNitro.
The growth is not so much jumping title to title, but it's how much you're learning and absorbing from others.
I get to work with people who are across the world, literally dozens of countries.
I've grown in ways that I wouldn't have grown as well or as quickly in other environments.
Some of my friends, they don't have those opportunities. They feel they're kind of like bogged down by the system, but I've never felt that here.
My desire is to see my entire team and everyone who works with me and around me, regardless of whether they report to me, succeed.
What keeps me at the company is the variety of projects and really the really freaking cool and smart people that I get to work with.
We're not just tackling communications problems. We're not just tackling design problems. We're tackling experience problems.
People who really believe in the work that they're doing.
That sort of focus on who you are versus what you do, I think is something that is sort of rare out in the corporate world.
When you surround a client's business with the right team to solve that business problem, we're unstoppable, absolutely unstoppable.
Cut.
Bond.
Hi, Mom.
I think we got it.
James Bond.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Good job. Thank you.
So you can see there's nuance there, right? So it's a little bit about what we do, it's a little about who we are as a company, but it's really about our people. It's about giving them an opportunity to talk about why they're here and what inspires them, which is usually each other. So, you know, once you develop this content, what do you do with it? Of course, it's on our careers page because you want to articulate what your culture is and really have a way to illustrate that when folks come there. And if you have great content, use it everywhere. There's no shame in posting it on your Twitter feed, posting it on Facebook, careers page, YouTube. Our recruiters even put it in their signature, you know, find out what it's like to work at SapientNitro. And candidates have been reaching out to us because they watch this and they're like, this seems like a really cool company to work for. I want to find out more. So, you know, again, careers destination on LinkedIn, we have it there too. We want to make sure that anybody coming into contact with our talent brand is you know, having the opportunity to see what it's like. So you generate all this content, right? You have all these things. You have your videos, you have your blog, you have, you know, your industry positioning POV. You know, what is it about? It's about engaging your talent audience with your brand, right? And we're here to talk about LinkedIn and ways to be better on LinkedIn. The great thing about LinkedIn is you can see how people are engaging with your talent brand, right? You can see what things that they're responding to more than others. You can kind of litmus whether your content's hitting or not, right? And what does that mean? That means that your talent brand grows, right? So for us, a focus on the types of content that we do to highlight our culture and our people have led to more than doubling our followers in less than 9 months, right? And that's a high quality audience, right? Because they're opting in to hear your message. They want to interact with your brand. And then Talent Brand Index, I know, you know, it's relatively new for all of us, and we're all kind of trying to figure out what it means for us and what it means for our brand. But I do know that I like those numbers, right? So we're doing content, we're trying to make sure that we're getting in the right places at the right time, and then I see these numbers. And even if you don't know exactly what that means for your talent brand, I think that that definitely tells a positive story, right? So at the end of the day, when you're thinking about your content and the stuff that you're putting out there to help build your talent brand, think about your end user, and I would argue that you wouldn't create fans, you create fanatics. And with that, I'll hand off to Sejal.
Thanks, Emily. So as I mentioned earlier, my name is Sejal Patel, and I'm a social media strategist within Intel's Enterprise Talent Organization. How many of you have ever interacted with a brand online, be it Twitter, Facebook, going to a LinkedIn page? Now, how many times have you actually gotten a response? Sometimes, not that often. I get really excited. Anytime a brand responds to me, it's like, yes, they're listening. If you've ever wondered who the voice of the human is behind a page, I'm the person who's behind all of our jobs at Intel global social presences. So we are real, we exist out there. And I'm here today to give you a few tips on what I've learned around creating content and what works and what doesn't work. So first, what you need to start with is figure out if your company has a set of guidelines that will help you with what you should and shouldn't share. At Intel, this came out of a social media center of excellence, which is within our marketing group. So it's a 30-minute video. It talks about the value of social media, how to protect yourself, protect the company, what to disclose, and how to be smart about it. We also have a list of rules of engagement, and it comes down to 3 basic things. Be smart about it, so you want to protect the brand in your company, disclose and be transparent, and use your common sense. Now, if your company doesn't have something like this, you're in luck, because these are actually available online for anyone to see and to take a look at. If you Google us and just put in Intel social media guidelines, you'll find the video on YouTube, as well as it can direct you towards our page on the intel.com site with more in-depth rules around engagement. So feel free to take a look at it and steal with pride and use it as a model. Our Center of Excellence also manages our corporate brand when it comes to social media. So all of these pages are managed out of that group, and they're doing pretty well. 22 million fans on Facebook, that's pretty awesome. But I have nothing to do with that. This is what I'm connected to. This is our global Jobs at Intel presence online. And this is what I'm the content editor for. We have some strong numbers, not quite in the millions, but we're really proud of what we've done, especially since a lot of this has been very organic. It's through word of mouth, to telling people, and it's been a labor of love over a few years. We also like to stress the fact that we aren't about quantity here, but really quality. It's about getting the right people to follow your brand, the people who are interested and who are actually going to be interested in working for the company and want to learn more about it versus anyone and everyone who may have heard of Intel. So if you want to get started with content, the first thing I would advise you to do is figure out what your objectives are. And this is a very high level. And it comes down to 3 main buckets for us. It's around humanizing the company and being transparent. It's around marketing and branding of our employer brand. And it's around creating a sourcing channel out of social media as well. How do you do that, and what are your goals around it? Again, this is very high level, and you can use this to really drill down and actually put some measurable goals around. Once you have a little bit of a plan in place, these are the basics that I advise everyone to have before you actually start creating content. The first thing I do whenever I fire up my laptop is I open up a window and immediately 4 tabs. And it goes to all of our pages where I go in and look at what's happened since I last logged in. Did people comment on our content? Did they write to us? And it's a chance for us to go and be active and see what's happening. So this does take time. It takes a regular commitment. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's 2 hours a day. It could be a quick 10 minutes as you're drinking your coffee in the morning, and it becomes a habit over time where you're in there and you're being active. It also requires time in the long run. It takes patience to build a following and a group here. It's not one of those things where if you build, they will come. You need to really prove your value, and over time, you'll see the ROI come back to you. A calendar will help you. 30% of the time, I don't follow my calendar, but 70% of the time, I do. And it really just helps your sanity, so you're not trying to scramble for content of what can I post today, what's happening today, and it gives you a chance to organize your thoughts. Like I mentioned, you might have this great plan for the week, and then this breaking news comes out about the company that you need to reposition things around. So it's always a good idea to have some things that are evergreen, that can work at any time, that you can always go and pull from, as well as having some things that this can't be moved. It needs to really happen on this date because it may be tied in with an event or with a big hiring ramp and whatnot. Money. We all know that HR runs pretty slim. We don't have any budget. And if you do have some budget, it will help you, but you are also able to do this without any. And we actually went the first few years without any actual budget allocated to social media marketing. When you think about content, I don't want you to get overwhelmed because you don't need to create from scratch. There are lots of different ways for you to repurpose, to curate, steal with pride, and really be inspired by what else you see. If you've ever worked with any marketers, you'll hear them say, content is king. On social media, I like to think of it as content is queen. It's still very important and it needs to be front of mind, but you also need to think about who is the audience, what network are you trying to post to, and what is the expectation of that network. And by marrying the two together is where you start getting good content. So first off, use what's at your fingertips. We're all in talent acquisition, so jobs are available. I'm not a recruiter, but I leverage my recruiters and get their input on what I should be sharing. This is a calendar that we created, a simple calendar in SharePoint, has some bugs, still working it out, but it does help us. And all of our talent advisors or our recruiters have access to this. They can go in, submit an item, usually it's a rec, and they tell me what the rec number is, what group it's supporting, and I try to pull the selling points out of it. What's exciting about this job? What's hard to find about it? What are the candidates you're looking for? Tell me a little bit more about why someone would want to come join this team. Because if you give me the selling points, I can market it, but I need the recruiters to really share with me what the big points are there. And then I put them on a calendar so that I know when I'm sharing things. So you could share job postings. They could look a little like this. Pretty exciting, right? No. So we actually did do this. This was one of our learnings. We had an opportunity to do some automated job postings where it would literally pull jobs from our system, post it out with something really generic, and you'd expect people to come and apply then, right? Doesn't work that way. You really want to make your content engaging. So spice it up. Again, pull out the exciting tidbits about the position. This is when I go to the recruiter and I literally say, what's sexy about this job? I need you to sell it to me so I can then sell it to the masses. And what I've also found works really well are visuals. Pictures really do speak more than content does, and people love shiny and pretty things. Other than jobs, what else can you post when it comes to content? Use what's happening around the company. The example on your right is an image that we created for our last CEO as he retired. It was a way for us to recognize his legacy as well as thank him for all the efforts and wish him luck in his next role or whatever he does next. This is a way to inform your audience about changes that are happening at Intel, as well as a chance for people who are employees to show their support and also echo the sentiments. The item on the other side is on LinkedIn, and that came out of our Intel Developer Forum. It was an announcement about a new product. So again, sharing news about what's happening at your company keeps your audience informed, and it always helps with your brand because it's not just jobs. You don't want to become an automated jobs feed here. When you don't have anything happening at your company that you can use, what else can you do? What's happening outside of the world? If there's an event or a holiday, create something fun about it and share it. This is a post that I found on BuzzFeed myself, and it's about comments you get from your parents when you try and teach them technology. My favorite one, which didn't make this one, and my mom actually asked me was, "Beta, do we have a recycle bin on our computer?" So it was just really entertaining, and I thought it would resonate with the audience who's also probably techie and has had to deal with people who aren't as tech savvy. And then use what's happening inside the company as well. Our employee communications team does a really good job of sharing human interest stories. So this was one about the aftermath of the Asiana plane crash. Intel found out that we had some employees and family members who were on the plane. And the story goes into what we did, why it's important to keep the company informed on your business travel, and how we sprung into action. It was a great story that helped bring a personal side to a current event, and we repurposed this and shared it on our social networks as well. So copy can do really well if it is engaging. So I've created copy for awards and recognitions that we received or events that we're going to. And there is a little bit of a challenge on Twitter. You have 140 characters. How do you get more out of that? Pictures do great. We've created some images on our own using some team members. We've also gone to organizations and asked them, do you have any visuals that we can use to pair with this copy? And a lot of times they're happy to share something with you. Steal with pride. So these are images that came out of our corporate marketing group, and they're beautiful. And when I saw them posted, I thought about, how can we use this now for the audience that I'm trying to attract? Just tweak the copy a little bit and repost it, and you'll see high engagement, and you're stealing with pride something that's already been created for your company. And it's on brand, so that's always a bonus as well. Be inspired by others. This is another post that our company page had put out, kind of doing a now and then of how your desktop looks. So we looked at this, and this is our inspiration for an event that we're going to, where we're trying to recruit engineers to join our mobile communications group. So kind of the same idea of what was a phone like back then and what is it going towards, and trying to get people to see Intel as a place where they can grow their career there. Help each other out. So as I mentioned earlier, we have a social media training at Intel. Once you go through that training, you become a social media practitioner, and you can subscribe to this listserv. People across the globe, across different business groups, are on this listserv, and everyone can send out emails promoting things that they're working on. This is an email that I had sent out when we launched our Jobs at Intel mobile app. What you do is you simply talk about what the project is, what the value is to Intel, put together some sample posts that people can just copy and paste and use, or that they can tweak and use, and you make it easy for them to share your content on their networks. So you have people like the Intel Software Network promoting the Jobs at Intel blog. You have people in the sales and marketing group promoting the Jobs at Intel app, and it's a way of creating more buzz. Be relevant. How many people in here have ever hidden a friend on Facebook? Right? It's usually that annoying friend who posts all the time, you just don't care, and you wonder why they use it, or they use Facebook like it's Twitter. You don't want your brand to be that friend. So use your filters to be relevant, and that way you're hitting the right audience and you're serving up the right content. When you use filters, you also notice an increase in your engagement because you are hitting the right people. And this is another place where you could use some budget. Sponsoring your posts also helps to get a little bit deeper and a wider reach, because now you're reaching people outside of your current following. So we've done some sponsored posts on Facebook that's to reach some people, as well as through LinkedIn. And what I really like about the LinkedIn sponsored updates is that you can actually target by skills as well, so you're really getting to the right talent you want to reach. Sometimes things just don't hit the mark. I've had instances where something really funny has happened to me, and I share it with a group of people, and they all look at me like I'm crazy, and it's not funny. And it's just the wrong crowd. The same thing applies with social media. Sometimes you could create excellent copy, but depending on what network it goes on, it may or may not perform well. This is a blog post that we had written about a director who's also a veteran, giving us his story about how he got into Intel and his career development there and whatnot. When we shared it on Facebook and on Twitter, we didn't get that much engagement through it. We shared it on LinkedIn, and we're getting lots of comments and engagement through that. So how do you tailor your content for different social networks? In a nutshell, this is what I've learned about different networks. When I think about Facebook, I associate it with fun. Twitter, and if any of you guys have been tweeting during the conference, you know it's more of a constant, real-time experience. LinkedIn is where you go for your professional identity. And a blog is where you can go to get more in-depth, because it's long form, so you can go really deep there. So when you recognize the different ways people use networks, you can also tailor your content to it. So we also see that on Facebook and Twitter, you're bored, that's what you're going to pull up. You go on LinkedIn and on Twitter to follow influencers, people who you admire and want to hear from. And it may not be you communicating with them, but them influencing you and you hearing about whatever they're sharing in that moment. With LinkedIn and a blog, you go there with a purpose. You don't ever just open LinkedIn up, I'm just going to go browse on LinkedIn, really. Or maybe we do, because this is the group for that. But most people, when they go on LinkedIn, they go with a purpose to either connect with someone, to join a group, to possibly look for jobs. And the same thing with the blog. You don't go visit a blog on a regular basis. You go there to find out more about something. And depending on how you have your notifications set up, with a blog and with Facebook, you can actually get alerts. And that's what prompts you to go take action and to go back to that place. So when you look at the different networks, what they're used for, how people use them, you want to tailor your content to them as well. So on Facebook, we try to be more entertaining, as well as we try to also be informational in a fun way, and pictures do really well there. On Twitter, this is where a lot of times we send a lot of our job postings out in a mass batch, because that's okay there. People are okay with receiving multiple updates from you in a given time on Twitter. On LinkedIn, we do use our company page, and we also have smaller communities set up or groups set up for you to get more in-depth. Our Intel Student Lounge is where we send all of our college and intern population to. We also have communities all over the world that do the same thing, one's in Asia. And then the Intel IT Center is actually something from the sales and marketing group, and it's geared towards decision makers at the IT level. So again, you have an opportunity to converse with people who are more like-minded and to get deeper. And a blog is a great place to share stories. So we use the blog to really highlight a lot of our different employees and have them share their story about Intel there. But there's a sweet spot, and how do you hit that sweet spot? And what I tell everyone is that you can't ever aim for content or campaign to go viral. It just happens. What you can aim for is good content. And when you hit the sweet spot, you hit the sweet spot. If any of you are Breaking Bad fans, you'd probably appreciate this image right here. This was timely. It went out right before the series finale came out. It drew the link between a popular TV show and Intel, and it was something that was also entertaining. And this is a good example of something that can go viral because it hits all of those. So my takeaways. If you're going to create content on social media, whether it's through a marketing person or as a recruiter, you decide that you're going to use your own networks to start to build more of a social presence. Act with a purpose. You don't want to be noisy, but you don't also want to be dormant. Balance the two to make sure that you're posting regularly, but make sure you're adding value when you do post. I also try to use a 5-1-1 rule for content. Every piece of content, I can tweet it 5 times, I can post it once on LinkedIn, and post it once on Facebook, because that's a little bit of the expectation around how often you hear from someone there. Also think about quality versus quantity. This is around frequency as well as around the number of fans you acquire and the people that you reach. It's about reaching the relevant group. And again, viral content is not a goal, good content is. You want to balance the business use as well as the business perspective as well as the audience perspective here. Whenever you're posting something, think about, so what? What's the value here? What's someone going to get out of it? And if you can't answer that question, take a step back and think about it again, because you want to be providing value. And also understand your audience and what they expect and match that expectation. Brand and voice. For what we do, I always look at the content and think, well, should Intel be commenting on this? Is this something you expected of Intel? Tie it back to your corporate brand. And if it gives you pause, pause. It's probably a good indication that you shouldn't be posting it, or maybe you need to take a different perspective on it. For us at Intel, we have a social persona of your friend, the genius. So our voice and our content should all try to filter up into that. And the last part is be human. It's not all about pushing out content, but really about engaging and responding. The moderation policy that we use is the good, the bad, but not the ugly. So if someone writes Intel rocks, I'm leaving it up there. Someone writes Intel sucks, I'm leaving it up there. Someone writes Intel effing sucks, that's coming down. So it's a good way, it's a good rule of thumb for what stays up there and what doesn't. And also response. I like to keep a no comment left behind policy. It's the idea that if you meet a candidate in person and they started talking to you, you wouldn't turn around and walk the other direction, and that's what's happening through social media. It's a way for candidates to get in touch with you and to communicate with you. So even if you don't have a specific answer for them, or you don't have a good answer for them, or they might not like what you have to say, it's a good chance for you to at least show that the brand is human and that you are paying attention to what people are saying. A lot of times it might be a generic answer like, go check this out. But there have been times when people have sent in a question and we've pulled them up and then sent them to appropriate recruiter and they've moved on to the interview phase. So that's another good way to make sure you're getting good people out of this as well. And then every day is something different. Every day is a new chance for a new beginning, and you will make mistakes. It's okay, just accept them, confess, apologize, do what you need to do, and move on. I know there's a big fear about everything you put online stays up there forever, and it is true to an extent, but it's more about how you react to it, as well as learn as you go along. Look at the content that you're posting, see what's getting the most engagement, see what times of day works well for you, and you'll find something that works for you. So in the end, social media is social, and don't forget the social piece of it, because that's really what's going to be key to your success. And here's my contact information, so if you have any questions or want to get in touch, I'm always happy to connect. So we do have some time now that we're going to go into some Q&A. So there's a mic in the middle over here. You can come to the microphone and ask some questions, and Emily and I would be happy to help.
Hey, I'm Ken Taylor, recruiter from Citrix. And we haven't really done a lot with Instagram. Just curious to hear what you guys have been doing on Instagram.
So it's funny you ask for us, because we're in the midst of figuring out how we want to use Instagram for recruitment. Our corporate brand has an Instagram account, so we're thinking about probably just partnering with them and feeding them some jobs-related content on a regular basis that they can share through there. So that's what we're doing.
For SapientNitro, we do have a corporate Instagram presence. I use Instagram for Talent Brand as it relates to event presence. So last year at South by Southwest, we did an Instagram contest where we were the lanyard sponsor for South by. So take your best Austin-themed picture with our lanyard somewhere in it, and then we gave away a prize, and they just had to use a hashtag within Instagram. So it was a way for people to show their creativity, because we're an advertising agency, have it be participatory, and then, you know, highlight our brand as well. So it's more events and kind of contest and theme driven for us on Instagram.
I think you guys did a great job, so thanks for that. I was wondering, how do you track how it relates back to hires? I do a lot of the same pieces, and that's a huge challenge on how you kind of track all of this activity and then really where you get the people into the company.
So with us, with our social networks, we also have a sourcing aspect to it as well. So on our Jobs at Intel page, we have a job search, which has all of our job postings on it. And they all have a source code attached to them. So if someone applies to there, that's how we capture them. It is still a challenge of, well, I saw the post on Facebook, and I followed you on Twitter, and I went to the Jobs at Intel site and applied there. So that's never really going to be worked out. But it gives us some indication of how many people are actually applying by clicking within a social network. We have the same thing with Twitter. We have a vendor that puts out our jobs and has a source code embedded in it as well.
Thanks.
On your Jobs at Intel sites, is there anything that you're doing to really drive up the number and increase the number of followers that you found to be particularly successful?
So one thing that we've done recently is doing more paid campaigns. And like I said, we don't have a lot of money. I mean, I go to marketing, say, I have $1,000, can I do anything with it? And they laugh at me pretty much. So I go through vendors instead who help us do more targeting ad campaigns. Sponsored stories are doing well for us. And if you have more of a follow us feel to it, you can help. The call to action then for people who see that is come follow Intel. The same thing with LinkedIn sponsored updates. We're targeting people with software skills, so we put out a video about software careers, and the message was, we're doing really innovative things, follow us to find out more. And that got us some more social actions out of it. Right. So she's saying that they get a lot of followers on the corporate brand or the Microsoft page themselves, but they have a hard time finding followers for the jobs-related one. And that is a challenge. I think it's also because consumer and candidate behavior is still different. Candidates have warmed up to the idea of social media, but they're still a little bit hesitant, especially on channels like Twitter or on Facebook. We also have our college team who go out and they hand out these little handshake cards that if anyone comes up to you, can give you one as well. And on the back it says, here are our social channels, go follow us there.
Just a short PSA from LinkedIn. So Sajal and the Intel team are actually piloting sponsored updates for talent acquisition. They're available for all of you in the room sometime in early 2014, so stay tuned. Thank you.
Back to our regular scheduled programming.
Hi, Adam Eisenstein, McGraw-Hill Financial. Could you guys talk a little bit about LinkedIn groups, what you're doing with them, what kind of content seems to be working to engage audiences there?
Are you guys doing LinkedIn groups?
Yeah, for us, for LinkedIn groups, again, I try to let that channel do its own thing and moderate itself. We'll definitely go on there and post things that we feel are relevant to the people that are following us in that group forum, which I think I kind of see as people that want to have an interaction with you on maybe a deeper level. So it's loosely moderated, and we will post content from time to time that tries to drive an impression or a discussion or talk about certain jobs that are incredibly critical or hot to fill. But we've got employees on there, we've got people that are not employees on there that are engaging with us, and we kind of just let, loosely moderate it and kind of let it do its thing.
And at Intel, we have several groups that we use. I think the most popular one that people heard about is the Intel Student Lounge. We also have one that's geared towards military and veterans members. So for each of those, we have an owner of the group. And for the Student Lounge, we have an owner as well as a member of the campus relations team that rotates through. So as a member of the team, you're also tasked to manage the group for 1 week, to go in, to moderate, to comment. We use an approval process. So that doesn't mean that if you post, it's not going to get approved. It's more to keep spammers out. And a lot of times, the post gets approved, someone from our team will respond to it, or people in the community will respond to it as well. And the way that we grew that community is by going out to campus, and we told people that we have this Intel Student Lounge group, as well as if you're someone at Intel, and I'm sure you guys have seen this in your companies as well, anyone who sees you're working at this company will try to connect with you to try to get a job. And so we had canned messages saying that, I can't really help you with finding a job because I'm not a recruiter, but hey, go check out the Intel Student Lounge and it'll fit you. So also educating your teams about what groups you have and directing people to them.
And make sure you go there and you pay attention to things that need to be moderated and notifications and stuff like that.
Hi, Ben Martinez with HireVue. Have you guys thought about doing anything, you know, putting like a thought leader or a person or a people on your Twitter handle or Facebook, anything like that? I mean, obviously Intel is a big name brand and everybody knows who that is, but like within your company, have you put executives or just anyone that you can follow and they can share content? It's, just curious to hear your thoughts. Have you tried anything like that or have a viewpoint?
Have I thought about it? Yes. Have we done anything? No. I think there's some interest probably out of a marketing group because that's where the social media strategy came out of to do something like that, but we haven't really acted upon it of getting someone to be an influencer. But I will say that in our military veterans group, one of our VPs of HR is a veteran herself, and she'll go in and she'll personally welcome people like, hey, Sejal, thank you for joining the community. And that really adds that high touch and knowing that someone in a senior role is paying attention to who's joining.
For us, we cross-promote with corporate marketing, so we have a corporate marketing social presence and a talent brand social presence, and so if there are events like, you know, Con Lions, South by Southwest, things where we know that our thought leaders are going to be out maybe delivering a keynote or things like that, we can cross-promote based on events and things like that, or if we're releasing a new product like a research paper or something like that, we definitely cross-promote. So there is an element of thought leadership there, but that tends to fall more under the corporate brand than it does under the talent brand, and then we repurpose that and give it more of a talent brand voice when necessary or appropriate.
Any other questions? So before you guys all head out, if there are no other questions, part of being social is getting feedback. You know, we look at the comments that we get on our posts and we use that to then drive future content strategy. So if you could please take a few minutes to fill out the surveys on your seats as well so we can use that feedback to gauge how we did as well as give LinkedIn feedback on how the session went. We're also available if you guys want to come chat with us, swap business cards, talk more one-on-one, and thank you all for being here.
Thank you.